Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. 4.1.1 is now open to Wave 1 PTU testers after quite a brief time in the Evocati phase. With that, the NDA is off on it, and I can now show footage from it, in addition to describing my initial impressions of it from my notes. The quick summary is that this is the release that we will have live for the ILW ship show and sale. We haven't seen anything of the new ships other than what others have gained through data mining, but the new game content is focused on ship combat, which fits the Invictus launch week. But first, an update on a recent video about tariffs and the gamer. If you're a non-U.S. citizen or just don't want to think about money, skip ahead to the next bookmark. When I made that video, tariffs from China were at 54%. In less than a week, they were decreased to 10% on countries other than China for 90 days to allow time for deals to be made, and at the same time increased on tariffs from China to 154%. Although there is no indication that there wouldn't be additional deals made after the 90 days or that the delay would be further delayed. And when asked, the president said that individual companies can negotiate deals if he believes that they have been treated badly. Then it was announced that there would be an exception for phones, tablets, laptop computers, and televisions from China. And then 2 days later, an announcement that, in fact, it was not an exception, but rather a pause in order to have the tariffs be reclassified under a different process as national security tariffs instead of reciprocal tariffs. So the tariffs now have this whole extra layer of complete chaos. Nobody has any ideas what deals will happen, where, and what those deals might entail. Although it is worth pointing out that this president is the first to have created direct anonymous means for corporations and governments to send him money. So, in my prior video, I suggested that a company like VKB might just send the parts to a workshop in the U.S. in order to only have the parts be tariffed. Now, with the tariff so high on the parts, it would make more sense to instead send the parts tariff-free to a workshop in some other country that only has a 10% tariff with the U.S. But more than that, the extra degree of chaos in the tariffs is likely to result not in high prices, but empty shelves and a reliance on gray market sources from other countries. Why so? Let's say you are an NVIDIA AIB graphics card maker, say MSI or Gigabyte. You want to order 1,000 5090 cards for the U.S. Those have to be loaded onto one or more containers, driven to a port, and loaded onto a ship. Let's allocate a week for that. Then they have to be shipped across the Pacific, which is 2 to 4 weeks at least. Then the importer accepting the goods is notified to pay the tariff, and the goods will be released to them. The tariff must be paid promptly, or the container will be auctioned since there is a limited space allowed at the port for things to back up. So at the time you make the decision to buy the cards, you have to expect what the tariff will be weeks from now. And even worse, the ship coming in just before or after yours might have an entirely different tariff. Or maybe even your competitor, who is on the same ship with yours, has worked out some sort of special deal. Either way, you would have $1 million at least of graphic cards that you can't sell at a profit. So you're likely to say just F this and not send the containers to the U.S. at all and instead to some other country that doesn't tariff China goods and has low tariffs with the U.S., some of which might eventually get white-boxed and sold on eBay at scalpers prices, no warranty to U.S. customers. And now with that aside, an update that does have to do with 4.1.1, and that is the Argo Raft, which thanks to some tightening up of the cargo grid has doubled its capacity from 96 SCU to 192 SCU. When I did my previous Middle Freight Championship video, the Raft was tied for the smallest capacity of the group, but now has the largest capacity of the group. In the prior roundup, it was second to the bottom despite having the best ease of loading and crate efficiency, and it definitely had the best value rating. Now, though, it is second to the top, only because it edged out by the Constellation Taurus because the Taurus can handle vehicles and can store an Argo Atlas off the grid. Also, if CIG keeps the $125 ship value, it is by far the best bang for the buck in the middle freight category. So if you don't care about vehicle or other loose storage, the Raft is the best middle freight hauler and slots neatly between the Hull A and the eventual Hull B. So let's continue with 4.1.1. Frankly, this was the most stable initial Evocati release that I have seen in a long time. Often the very first Evocati release seems a little more than an exercise in generating large quantities of crash reports per hour. Apparently, though, nothing is being done radically new in the core systems, which usually is the source of such early instability. There are 3 types of new space combat missions: Flight School, Patrol, and Ambush. And there is a special mission, not yet in this build, which apparently will be the event of the release associated with the ILW. The Ambush and Patrol have both lawful and unlawful versions. Both are found under Mercenary. The lawful ones are from Foxwell Security, so to get them you first have to do the Foxwell Qualification Bunker mission. The unlawful ones, found by using the Unverified toggle, are from the Headhunters. Yeah, those guys, which makes for the first time there is a faction where a reputation opens things both in Stanton and in Pyro. Patrol is a classic mission type in a Chris Roberts game. The very first mission in the original Wing Commander was, a 3-point patrol. The lowest level of these pays out $26K, and although I tested them out in a Buccaneer, it looks like they could be done in any starter ship. Each point may have you intervening in an attack, checking out satellites and destroying any that look like they may have been compromised, or, well, nothing of note. Eventually, I would hope that some expansion of what might be possible, such as a ship in need of medical rescue, a ship needing repair, etc. This might also require that the player be expected to have a set of minimal equipment with them, but a nice new PvE space combat experience tree. Gilly's Flight School is a set of escalating combat missions. Accept the mission, go to the location in an asteroid field, hostiles appear, combat ensues. Backers with a long history in the game will remember that Gilly's Flight School was there back in version 2 and...
I'm Lucas Baramsko, but everyone knows me as Gilly. I've served in 6 squadrons and qualified on almost a dozen ships. So if you put in the time, I'll get you on the path to dogfighting with the best of them.
Honestly, compared to this many years ago version, this one feels kind of lazy. There's no actual setting, no banter, no instruction, and no feedback.
Way to orient your ship to fit through tight gaps or evade incoming fire. Now you give it a go.
I understand that is primarily because the original Gillies was an Arena Commander setting, and this is occurring in the shared real-time universe. But why? Having it in the full PU raises a whole bunch of weird questions. Why is Gilly paying me to do this? Who are these other pilots risking their lives for my education? Where is Gilly getting this endless supply of ships to blow up? Yeah, I know, Handwavium, but particularly for new players, Handwavium impinges on verisimilitude, and verisimilitude is needed for immersion. Maybe the training could be sponsored by one or another faction that you choose. Maybe they could be remotely piloted drones, or maybe, like the early Star System Gilly's Flight School, just have it be a sim pod in the game world, like so many other games have done. Anyway, they seem to be balanced fine and mostly function, although often I am getting exactly the same voice clip from Gilly at multiple stages in the same mission. Anyway, these new training missions are just weak. A minimal effort to get a checkbox on whether there is in-game training in the persistent universe. CIG has said it doesn't do go-no-go meetings anymore. If they did, though, I wouldn't have passed this one. The ambush missions, though, seem like a much more interesting mission type. Unfortunately, I have not unlocked them in the little time that I've played 4.1.1 so far. As for the redacted missions, people have had data mining about them, have found sound files that indicate that it has to do with the theft of a warship from the show floor. My hope is that the event actually involves trying to capture and return the ship, either by repair or towing. It will still be a challenge if it isn't, but honestly, we've had other events with a capital ship battle as the finale, so I'm hoping for some sort of unique angle to this event. And now for an update on my giveaways. First, I'm working on some sort of streamed live watch party funded by the captains as part of the revised See You at CitizenCon package. Also, we have the special skills contest for channel members to earn a chance at a Mirai Guardian or a Misk Fortune. I only have a few entries so far, and just a little video might win you a nice ship. Then we have our annual IAE Week giveaway coming up for the shiny stainless steel Sirius shipping ship, the Starlancer Max. And then the Grow the Channel ship giveaway at 20,000 subscribers for the winner's choice of the marvelous multi-role multiplayer mining meta, the Arasta, or the brand new big box bargain bazaar, the Merchantman. One entry per video. Members are entered automatically. Everyone else, just subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the adjective for what I felt the effort put into the new Jilly's missions was. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.